Imagine a mind so sharp, it could sketch flying machines centuries before they took to the skies. A mind that saw the beauty in a swirling vortex of water and the mechanics of a bird's wing with equal fascination. This was Leonardo da Vinci, a man who didn't just paint masterpieces, but dissected the very fabric of the world around him. We're about to journey into the life of this Renaissance titan, a true original whose curiosity knew no bounds, and discover how his insatiable quest for knowledge still inspires us today. Get ready to be amazed by the sheer breadth of his genius, from art that moves the soul to inventions that seem almost impossibly ahead of their time. The unfolding of a polymath. Leonardo da Vinci's mind was a bustling workshop, constantly tinkering with ideas from every corner of existence. He wasn't content with just one craft, he wanted to master them all, like a chef who insists on perfecting not only the main course but also the dessert, the appetizer, and even the fancy napkin folding. This insatiable curiosity led him down paths that few dared to tread. He'd spend hours dissecting human bodies, not out of morbid fascination, but to truly understand how muscles moved, how bones supported weight, and how blood flowed, knowledge that would later inform his art and his inventions. Imagine him, armed with a scalpel and a notebook, sketching the intricate network of veins with the same precision he used to paint Mona Lisa's enigmatic smile. His explorations extended beyond the human form to the very mechanics of the world. Observing birds in flight, he meticulously documented the subtle shifts of their wings, the way they caught the air. This wasn't just idle birdwatching, it was rigorous scientific inquiry. He wanted to know the why and the how behind every flutter and glide. This deep dive into aerodynamics, long before airplanes were even a dream, resulted in sketches of flying machines that, while perhaps not practical for his time, showed a profound understanding of principles that would eventually lead to human flight centuries later. It's like trying to build a smartphone by first understanding how a stone skips across water. This drive to understand everything meant his notebooks were a glorious, chaotic mess of brilliance. One page might contain a detailed anatomical drawing, the next a study of flowing water, followed by a design for a military tank or a whimsical sketch of a smiling old man. He saw connections everywhere, a grand tapestry woven from seemingly disparate threads. For Leonardo, art and science weren't separate disciplines, they were two sides of the same coin, each informing and enriching the other. His artistic eye helped him observe the world with unparalleled detail, and his scientific mind enabled him to understand the underlying structures and forces at play. He was the ultimate Renaissance man, not just dabbling, but deeply engaging with the world, leaving behind a legacy of innovation that continues to inspire awe. A Tuscan dawn. The first hints of light, a soft blush on the horizon, spill over the rolling Tuscan hills. This is the quiet moment before the world fully awakens, a time when the air still holds the cool breath of night. Leonardo da Vinci, a young man brimming with an insatiable curiosity, would have found profound inspiration in such a scene. He wasn't just an artist, he was a relentless observer of nature, a scientist before science was a formal discipline. He'd watch how the light painted the landscape, how the shadows shifted, and how the very colors of the earth changed with the passing minutes. It was in these subtle transformations that he sought to understand the mechanics of the world, much like a chef meticulously studying the way ingredients blend and transform under heat. Imagine him, perhaps, sketching in a worn notebook, his quill dancing across the page. He might be capturing the delicate veins of a leaf, the intricate musculature of a bird's wing, or the swirling patterns of water in a nearby stream. This wasn't mere doodling, it was a systematic investigation. He believed that art and science were inseparable, two sides of the same coin. For Leonardo, understanding the anatomy of a body was as crucial to painting a lifelike portrait as understanding perspective was to creating depth on a flat canvas. He'd dissect, he'd observe, and he'd meticulously record, driven by a desire to grasp the underlying principles that governed everything from the flight of a swallow to the flow of a river. This dedication to observation extended to the smallest details. He studied the way light interacted with different textures, how mist softened distant mountains, and how the vibrant greens of the olive groves deepened under the morning sun. He saw the world as a grand, interconnected system, and he yearned to decipher its language. His notebooks are filled with studies of clouds, wind currents, and the anatomy of insects, all seen through the lens of a mind that refused to accept anything at face value. It was this unyielding pursuit of knowledge, this deep-seated wonder at the natural world, that fueled his extraordinary genius. He was, in essence, a Renaissance detective, constantly seeking clues to unlock the universe's secrets, one observation at a time. Apprenticeship in Verrocchio's workshop. Young Leonardo arrived in Florence, a bright-eyed boy eager to learn, and was placed under the tutelage of Andrea del Verrocchio. Verrocchio's workshop was more than just a place to paint. It was a bustling hub of creativity, a veritable Renaissance factory where all sorts of artistic and technical skills were honed. Imagine a busy workshop today, but instead of car parts or computers, they were crafting sculptures, intricate metalwork, and, of course, magnificent paintings. Here, Leonardo learned not just how to mix pigments and apply brushstrokes, but also the foundational principles of drawing, anatomy, perspective, and even sculpture. It was a place where theory met practice with a delightful, sometimes messy, flourish. Verrocchio himself was a master craftsman, and his workshop attracted the finest talents of the day. Leonardo, alongside other apprentices, would have been tasked with a variety of chores, from grinding pigments to preparing canvases. But as his talent blossomed, so did his responsibilities. He learned by observing, by doing, and by absorbing the atmosphere of innovation that permeated the workshop. It's said that Verrocchio, upon seeing Leonardo's exquisite rendering of an angel in his own painting, the Baptism of Christ, was so astonished by the apprentice's skill that he declared he would never paint again, a testament to Leonardo's prodigious early talent. A bit dramatic, perhaps, but it highlights the impression Leonardo made. Beyond painting and sculpture, Verrocchio's workshop was known for its engineering and architectural projects. This broader scope likely exposed Leonardo to a wider range of disciplines, fostering his insatiable curiosity. He would have seen how practical knowledge intersected with artistic expression, how a deep understanding of mechanics could inform the creation of beautiful forms. This was not just about making pretty pictures, it was about understanding the world and then representing it with both accuracy and artistry. Think of it like learning to bake a cake. You need to understand the ingredients, the oven temperature, and the chemistry involved, not just how to decorate it. This immersive environment provided Leonardo with a holistic education, laying the groundwork for his future multifaceted genius. The rigorous training, the exposure to diverse crafts, and the constant stimulation of a creative community all played a crucial role in shaping the young artist and inventor. It was a period of intense learning and growth, where the seeds of his unparalleled intellect were sown amidst the clamor and camaraderie of Verrocchio's Florentine studio. Early Florentine flourish. Florence, a city buzzing with artistic energy, was the perfect incubator for young Leonardo. He arrived as a curious apprentice, ready to soak up everything. Imagine a bustling workshop, filled with the scent of linseed oil and turpentine, where master artists and their students mixed pigments, sketched endlessly, and debated the merits of a perfectly rendered drapery. This was Verrocchio's studio, a veritable art factory of the time, and Leonardo was its star pupil. He wasn't just learning to paint or sculpt, he was learning to see. He observed the subtle play of light on a sculpted muscle, the way a bird's wing folded in flight, the intricate patterns of water flowing in a stream. This keen observation, this almost obsessive attention to detail, would become his hallmark. Verrocchio, a renowned master himself, quickly recognized Leonardo's exceptional talent. It's said that when Leonardo painted an angel in Verrocchio's The Baptism of Christ, his work was so superior that Verrocchio, in a fit of artistic pique, vowed never to paint again. While that might be a bit of artistic drama, it speaks volumes about Leonardo's early prowess. He wasn't content with simply replicating what he saw, he wanted to understand the underlying mechanics, the science behind the beauty. This insatiable curiosity, this drive to dissect the world around him, set him apart from his peers. He'd spend hours studying anatomy, not just for artistic accuracy, but out of a genuine fascination with how things worked, a trait that would lead him down many unconventional paths. Even in these early years, hints of his future genius were evident. While other apprentices might have focused solely on mastering established techniques, Leonardo was already experimenting. He was interested in new ways to apply paint, in capturing the fleeting expressions on people's faces, in the very nature of perspective. He would fill sketchbooks with observations of everyday life, from the contortions of a laughing face to the precise anatomy of a horse's leg. These weren't just practice sketches, they were scientific inquiries disguised as art. Florence offered him not just a training ground, but a vibrant intellectual playground where art and science danced together, a dance that Leonardo would lead with unparalleled grace. The curious mind takes flight. Leonardo da Vinci's insatiable curiosity was the engine that propelled his genius. He wasn't content with simply observing the world, he yearned to understand its inner workings. This drive manifested in countless sketches and notes, his personal laboratory of ideas. He'd spend hours watching birds, not just admiring their flight, but dissecting the mechanics of their wings, the subtle shifts in their feathers, the way they caught the wind. Imagine him, perched on a hill, a sketchbook in hand, furiously jotting down observations, perhaps with a stray bird feather stuck in his hair, a testament to his hands-on approach. He wasn't just drawing a bird, he was deconstructing aerodynamics before the term even existed. This meticulous observation extended to everything around him. He studied the flow of water, its eddies and currents, how it carved through landscapes, and how it could be harnessed. He'd marvel at the intricate patterns of muscle and bone beneath the skin, leading him to detailed anatomical studies that were centuries ahead of their time. It's said he once spent a whole night meticulously dissecting a human body, a rather gruesome, but incredibly informative, endeavor. He wasn't squeamish, he was driven by a desire to know, to see the hidden machinery of life. He saw the world as a grand puzzle, and every observation was a piece he painstakingly collected. His fascination with flight, in particular, was a lifelong obsession. He saw the potential for humans to soar like the birds, and this dream fueled his inventive spirit. He designed numerous flying machines, some resembling bat wings, others more like ornithopters, flapping contraptions that, while perhaps not practical by today's standards, were revolutionary in their conception. He understood the principles of lift and drag, even if he didn't have the precise mathematical language to describe them. It was this persistent questioning, this refusal to accept the world as it was presented, that truly defined him. He was a man who looked at a bird and didn't just see a creature of the sky, but a blueprint for human possibility. Anatomy, the body as a machine. Leonardo da Vinci viewed the human body as an intricate, marvelous machine, a complex assembly of levers, pulleys, and hydraulics. He dissected bodies, not out of morbid curiosity, but to understand the engineering principles at play. Think of it like taking apart a clock to see how the gears turn and the springs provide power. He meticulously sketched muscles, bones, and tendons, noting how they worked together to create movement. For instance, he recognized that a bicep muscle contracting was akin to a rope pulling on a lever, the bone, to lift a weight, like your arm. He even studied the heart, likening its chambers and valves to a sophisticated pump, essential for circulating life's vital fluid. His fascination extended to the mechanics of breathing and digestion. He saw the lungs as bellows, expanding and contracting to draw in air, and the stomach as a grinding mill, breaking down food. He observed how fluids flowed through vessels, much like water in aqueducts, nourishing every part of the organism. It was a purely functional perspective. He was less concerned with the why of life and more with the how of its operation. He even speculated on flight, drawing parallels between the flapping wings of birds and the potential for human aerial machines, all rooted in his understanding of anatomical mechanics. This mechanical approach wasn't just academic. It informed his artistic creations, lending an unprecedented realism to his figures. The way a limb bent, the subtle strain of a muscle, the very posture of a person, all were rendered with an understanding of the underlying structure. He was essentially reverse engineering the divine design, seeking to replicate its genius in both his art and his inventions. He saw the body's resilience, its ability to heal and adapt, as further testament to its ingenious construction. It was a system built for purpose, a testament to nature's own brilliant engineering. Engineering dreams, war machines. Leonardo da Vinci, a mind that seemed to stretch across centuries, also harbored a fascination with the grim realities of warfare. While his artistic genius is celebrated worldwide, his notebooks reveal a prolific inventor of military contraptions. He envisioned machines designed to overwhelm and defend, a stark contrast to the serene beauty of his paintings. Imagine a world where giant crossbows, far larger than any seen before, could unleash volleys of arrows with terrifying force, or where armored vehicles, like a monstrous metal tortoise, could trundle across battlefields, impervious to enemy fire. These weren't just fanciful sketches, they were meticulously drawn plans for devices intended to give commanders a decisive edge. His designs for an armored vehicle, often described as a tank, were particularly ingenious. It was conceived as a rotating, multi-gun platform, protected by thick wooden planks. The idea was that soldiers inside could operate cannons and firearms from all directions, making it a mobile fortress. While this particular invention never saw actual construction in his lifetime, the concept was remarkably prescient, anticipating the armored fighting vehicles of the 20th century by hundreds of years. He also explored advancements in artillery, designing improved cannons and siege engines. One can almost picture him, hunched over his drawings, trying to figure out how to make projectiles fly further and hit harder, perhaps with a mischievous glint in his eye. Beyond offensive weapons, Leonardo also turned his attention to defense. He devised elaborate systems for protecting cities, including ingenious methods for diverting rivers to flood enemy encampments or creating complex networks of traps and fortifications. His studies of hydraulics and mechanics were applied to creating devices that could raise and lower drawbridges or flood moats with impressive speed. He even sketched out a form of early submarine, a diving bell that could allow soldiers to operate underwater, a concept that seems more like science fiction than Renaissance engineering. These military designs, though often born out of a patron's request for practical solutions, showcase the incredible breadth of his intellect and his relentless curiosity about how things worked, even the mechanics of destruction. Engineering dreams, flying machines. Leonardo da Vinci, a man whose curiosity knew no bounds, spent countless hours observing the natural world, particularly the effortless flight of birds. He wasn't content with mere admiration, he yearned to understand the mechanics, the secret language of the air that allowed creatures to soar. His notebooks are filled with intricate sketches of wings, muscles, and bone structures, all meticulously drawn as he tried to unlock the puzzle of avian locomotion. He imagined men, too, could conquer the skies, not by magic, but by ingenious engineering. His designs for flying machines were revolutionary, though perhaps a bit ambitious for the technology of his time. Picture this, a giant, bat-like contraption with a wingspan that dwarfed a small airplane. This was his aerial screw, a precursor to the helicopter. He envisioned it spinning its way upwards, like a corkscrew boring into the sky. While it might have looked more like a whimsical spinning top than a functional aircraft, the underlying principle of using a rotating surface to generate lift was remarkably prescient. He also sketched ornithopters, machines with flapping wings designed to mimic the powerful beats of a bird's wings. He even devised a parachute, a triangular canvas structure that, if deployed, would have slowed a fall considerably, a much-needed safety feature for any aspiring aviator. These weren't just idle doodles. Leonardo approached his flying machine designs with the rigor of a true engineer. He studied wind patterns, the resistance of air, and the forces required to overcome gravity. He understood that a successful flying machine needed to be lightweight yet strong, with surfaces that could effectively catch the air. His anatomical studies of birds were not just academic. He saw the elegant efficiency of their feathered limbs and hollow bones, and he tried to translate those principles into wood, canvas, and metal. It's a testament to his genius that his concepts, even if unrealized in his lifetime, laid the groundwork for future innovators. One can almost imagine him, perched on a hill, watching his models flutter and tumble, a determined glint in his eye, already planning the next iteration. The art of observation. Leonardo da Vinci possessed an extraordinary ability to truly see the world. It wasn't just a casual glance, he looked with an intensity that revealed the hidden mechanics of everything around him. Think about how we usually look at a bird in flight. We see a bird, maybe admire its grace. Leonardo, however, would have been dissecting the very principles of its aerial ballet. He'd be noting the subtle adjustments of its wings, the way air flowed over its feathers, the precise angles that allowed it to soar and dive. This deep engagement with the visual world was the bedrock of his genius. He understood that to depict something accurately, whether a human face or a swirling vortex of water, one first had to understand its fundamental nature. This intense scrutiny extended to every facet of existence. He wouldn't just sketch a flower, he'd meticulously record the intricate patterns of its petals, the delicate veins, the way light interacted with its surface. He observed the way water moved, not just as a liquid, but as a force with currents, eddies, and reflections. He studied anatomy not from books alone, but by closely examining human and animal bodies, understanding the underlying structure that gave them form and function. This wasn't morbid curiosity, it was a profound desire to grasp the why behind the what. It's like trying to fix a leaky faucet without understanding how water pressure works. You might stop the drip for a moment, but you won't truly solve the problem. His notebooks are a testament to this relentless observation. They are filled with sketches of everything imaginable, a laughing child, a galloping horse, the complex gears of a machine, the swirling patterns of smoke. Each drawing is a snapshot of his mind at work, wrestling with the visual information before him. He wasn't just recording what he saw, he was analyzing it, questioning it, and synthesizing it. This constant process of looking, questioning, and documenting allowed him to build an unparalleled understanding of the natural world, which in turn fueled his innovations in art, science, and engineering. He saw the interconnectedness of things, the underlying principles that governed both the grandest celestial movements and the smallest biological functions. The sfumato secret. Leonardo da Vinci's mastery of sfumato is legendary. It's a technique that creates soft, hazy transitions between colors and tones, almost like smoke, hence the name, which comes from the Italian word for smoke. Think of it as the artistic equivalent of a perfectly blended smoothie, where you can't quite pinpoint where one fruit ends and another begins. Instead of sharp, crisp lines, Leonardo allowed colors to melt into one another, giving his subjects a lifelike, almost breathing quality. This wasn't achieved by simply smudging paint with a finger, though that might be how some artists try it today, and often end up with a muddy mess. Leonardo's approach was far more sophisticated, involving incredibly thin layers of translucent glazes applied with delicate brushstrokes, building up the form gradually. Consider the Mona Lisa's enigmatic smile. That softness around her lips and eyes, the subtle shift in light and shadow that makes her expression so captivating, is a prime example of sfumato. It's not a smile that's definitively happy or sad, it's something in between, something fluid and alive, thanks to those smoky edges. This technique allowed him to capture the subtle nuances of human emotion and the natural world in a way that was revolutionary for his time. Imagine trying to paint a cloud without any discernible edges, just a gradual fading into the sky. That's the essence of sfumato, and Leonardo was its undisputed king. This careful layering and blending meant that Leonardo's paintings possessed an incredible depth and realism. He wasn't just painting a face, he was painting the way light falls on skin, the way shadows soften features, the very atmosphere surrounding his subjects. It's as if he understood that reality itself is rarely defined by harsh outlines. Look at the gentle curve of a cheekbone, or the way light catches the edge of a drapery. These are areas where sfumato truly shines, transforming flat pigment into three-dimensional form. It's a testament to his keen observation and his painstaking dedication to replicating the visual world with unparalleled subtlety. Mona Lisa's enigmatic smile. The gentle curve of her lips, a whisper of amusement or perhaps a hint of melancholy, has captivated viewers for centuries. Leonardo da Vinci, a master of observing the human form and its subtle expressions, poured his understanding of anatomy and emotion into the portrait of Lisa del Giocondo. He didn't just paint a face, he painted a living, breathing personality. The effect is so profound that even today, art historians and casual observers alike ponder the true meaning behind that subtle upturn of the mouth. It's like trying to guess what your friend is thinking after they've said something just a little bit cheeky. You know there's more to it, but you can't quite put your finger on it. This elusive quality is achieved through Leonardo's innovative use of sfumato, a technique that involves blending colors and tones so subtly that they melt into one another without sharp outlines. Imagine looking at a distant mountain range. The edges aren't crisp, they're softened by the atmosphere. Leonardo applied this soft, hazy effect to Mona Lisa's face, particularly around her eyes and mouth. This blurring means that as you look at her, your brain is constantly trying to interpret the indistinct lines, and what you see can shift depending on where you focus. One moment her smile seems more pronounced, the next it's almost gone. It's a visual trick that keeps the viewer engaged, always searching for an answer that remains just out of reach. Think about how a shadow can change the appearance of a familiar object. A simple ball under a light can look completely different depending on where the light source is. Leonardo understood this power of light and shadow, and he used it masterfully to create depth and dimension in Mona Lisa's expression. He didn't just paint a smile, he painted the possibility of a smile, leaving room for our own interpretations. This ambiguity is what makes the portrait so eternally fascinating. It's not a static image frozen in time, it feels alive, as if she might break into a full grin or a knowing sigh at any moment. The enduring mystery of Mona Lisa's smile isn't just about artistic technique, it's about the human connection. Leonardo tapped into something universal about how we perceive emotions. We project our own feelings and experiences onto the painting, searching for a reflection of ourselves or a shared understanding. Her expression is like a perfectly crafted riddle, inviting us to ponder, to question, and to connect with the artwork on a deeply personal level. It's a testament to Leonardo's genius that a painting created so long ago can still spark such conversation and wonder, making us feel like we're almost on the verge of understanding her secret. The Last Supper, a masterpiece in peril. Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper, a mural adorning a refectory wall in Milan, faced a precarious existence almost from its inception. Unlike traditional frescoes, which are painted onto wet plaster and become part of the wall itself, Leonardo experimented with a new technique. He used tempera and oil on a dry, sealed plaster surface. This innovative approach allowed him a greater degree of detail and subtlety, letting him revise and refine his work over time, much like a painter on a canvas. However, this very innovation proved to be its undoing. The paint, not being bonded chemically with the plaster, began to flake and deteriorate relatively quickly. It was as if he had painted a magnificent picture on a piece of paper that was already starting to curl and fade. The damp environment of the refectory, coupled with the experimental nature of the materials, exacerbated the problem. Moisture seeped into the walls, causing the plaster to crumble and the paint to lift away in tiny, tragic fragments. Imagine trying to preserve a delicate watercolor painting in a perpetually steamy bathroom. The results would be similar. Over the centuries, this fragile masterpiece endured further indignities. The refectory itself was used for various purposes, including as a stable and a storage area. During World War II, Allied bombs devastated the monastery, yet miraculously, the wall bearing the Last Supper remained standing, though heavily damaged by the blast. It was like a single, precious book surviving a collapsed library, albeit with its pages torn. Restoration efforts have been numerous and complex, each attempting to rescue what remained of Leonardo's vision. Early attempts, some well-intentioned but misguided, actually caused more harm than good by applying thick layers of varnish or overpainting details. It was like trying to fix a cracked vase with too much glue, obscuring the original beauty. Modern conservationists have employed painstaking techniques, using advanced technology to analyze the remaining pigments and layers of paint. They carefully remove later additions and consolidate the fragile original material, a process akin to a highly skilled surgeon meticulously repairing damaged tissue. The goal is not to recreate what is lost but to preserve the authentic remnants of Leonardo's genius, allowing us to glimpse his original intent despite the ravages of time and circumstance. The ongoing struggle to keep The Last Supper alive is a testament to its enduring power and the challenges inherent in preserving even the most celebrated works of art for future generations. Milanese patronage, Sforza's court. Leonardo found a fertile ground for his talents in Milan, under the patronage of Duke Ludovico Sforza. This wasn't just a simple job, it was like being the star artist and chief engineer rolled into one for a very wealthy and powerful client. Sforza, a man with a taste for grand gestures and impressive displays, saw in Leonardo a unique individual who could fulfill his many ambitions. He wasn't just looking for pretty pictures, he wanted innovation, engineering marvels, and a court that shone with intellectual brilliance. Imagine a modern CEO commissioning a team of the best minds to design everything from the company logo to the next generation of technology, all while expecting spectacular parties. That was the kind of role Leonardo stepped into. Sforza wanted Leonardo to design elaborate court festivals, complete with ingenious mechanical contraptions that would dazzle his guests. Think of it as an ancient version of a laser light show and a theme park combined, all orchestrated by one man. Leonardo's notebooks from this period are filled with sketches for these fantastical events, showcasing his boundless imagination. Beyond the pageantry, Sforza also tasked Leonardo with more practical, albeit still ambitious, projects. He was expected to contribute to military engineering, designing fortifications and war machines, which, let's be honest, probably kept him up at night wondering about the physics of it all. But it wasn't all about destruction. Ludovico also commissioned Leonardo for grand artistic endeavors, the most famous being the colossal bronze equestrian statue of Francesco Sforza, his father. This was a project of immense scale, a true test of Leonardo's skill and ambition, though sadly, it was never fully realized in bronze due to the changing political climate. The Milanese court offered Leonardo not just financial security but also an environment where his diverse interests could flourish. He was encouraged to experiment, to observe, and to document. This period allowed him to delve deeply into anatomy, optics, and mechanics, all of which informed his art and his engineering. It was a symbiotic relationship. Sforza provided the resources and the vision, and Leonardo provided the genius that would leave an indelible mark on art and science, even if some of his grandest schemes remained sketches on paper, like a brilliant idea that's still waiting for the perfect moment to be built. The Vitruvian Man, harmony and proportion. Leonardo da Vinci's Vitruvian Man is more than just a drawing, it's a visual manifesto of the Renaissance belief that humanity was the measure of all things. He meticulously depicted a man, arms outstretched and legs spread, perfectly inscribed within both a circle and a square. This wasn't just about fitting a body into shapes, it was a profound exploration of ideal human proportions, a concept that had fascinated thinkers for centuries. Ancient Roman architect Vitruvius had written about these proportions, suggesting that a well-built man could fit neatly into both geometric forms, and Leonardo, ever the curious observer, decided to put it to the test with his own keen eye. The drawing itself is a masterclass in precision. Leonardo carefully measured and noted the relationships between different parts of the body. For instance, the length of a man's outstretched arms is equal to his height. Think about it: if you stand with your arms spread wide, the distance from fingertip to fingertip is roughly the same as the distance from the top of your head to your toes. That's a fundamental building block of this harmonious system. He also observed that the width of a man's shoulders is 1/4 of his height, and the distance from the elbow to the tip of the hand is 1/5. These weren't arbitrary numbers, they were believed to represent a divine order, a universal blueprint for beauty and balance that mirrored the cosmos. This pursuit of perfect proportion wasn't just an academic exercise for Leonardo, it had practical implications. Artists and architects of the Renaissance sought to embody these ideals in their creations, believing that beauty stemmed from mathematical harmony. Imagine trying to build a perfectly proportioned statue or a grand cathedral. Understanding these ratios would be like having a secret recipe for aesthetic success. Leonardo's drawing provided a tangible, visual guide, a sort of cheat sheet for achieving that elusive ideal. It was a way of saying that within the human form itself lay a profound and beautiful geometry, a reflection of the order found in the universe. The Vitruvian man, therefore, stands as a testament to the Renaissance fascination with the human potential and its connection to the natural world. It's a reminder that even in the chaos of life, there's an underlying order and beauty to be found, especially within ourselves. Leonardo's exploration of these proportions wasn't just about drawing a man, it was about understanding the fundamental principles that govern beauty, balance, and the very essence of what it means to be human, all neatly contained within the elegant lines of a single, iconic image. Diving into hydraulics. Leonardo da Vinci wasn't just about painting Mona Lisas and sketching flying machines, he was deeply fascinated by the movement of water. He saw it not just as a beautiful element of nature but as a powerful force that could be understood and even harnessed. Think of him as an early, very curious plumber and water engineer, all rolled into one artistic genius. He spent a lot of time observing rivers, canals, and even how water flowed through pipes. His notebooks are filled with detailed drawings of swirling eddies, the way water crashes against obstacles, and how it can be guided. He was essentially trying to crack the code of how water behaves, much like we try to understand how a leaky faucet works today, but on a much grander scale. He meticulously studied the forces at play when water moved, sketching out ideas for canals that could connect cities, making travel and trade much easier. Imagine trying to build a superhighway, but for boats, all those centuries ago. He wasn't just drawing pretty pictures, he was thinking about practical applications. He even designed devices to measure water flow, sort of like an ancient water meter, and explored ways to lift water from lower levels to higher ones, a problem that still plagues engineers. His insights into how water pressure works were quite advanced for his time, and he even contemplated how to divert rivers, a feat that would have been monumental. One of his more intriguing ideas involved using water to power machines. He envisioned water wheels that could grind grain or operate bellows for blacksmiths, harnessing the sheer kinetic energy of flowing water. It's like seeing a modern hydroelectric dam in its very, very early conceptual stages, albeit on a much smaller, more artistic scale. He understood that water's constant motion was a source of potential energy, waiting to be tapped. He also noticed how water could erode land over time, a phenomenon he sketched and analyzed, understanding its sculpting power. His investigations into hydraulics weren't just theoretical scribbles, they influenced practical engineering for centuries. While some of his grander schemes might have been too ambitious for the technology of his era, his fundamental understanding of water dynamics was remarkably astute. He saw the world not just as it was, but as it could be, with water playing a crucial, often predictable role. It's a testament to his inquisitive mind that he could find such profound beauty and utility in something as common as a flowing stream, turning it into a subject of serious scientific inquiry and artistic wonder. The science of light and shadow. Leonardo da Vinci, a true Renaissance man, possessed an insatiable curiosity that extended to the very nature of light and shadow. He didn't just see these elements, he dissected them, marveling at how they sculpted the world around him. For Leonardo, light wasn't merely illumination, it was a force that defined form, revealing curves and planes with astonishing clarity. He meticulously observed how light fell upon objects, noticing how a single source could cast sharp, distinct shadows, while diffuse light softened edges and created a more gentle transition. Think about how the sun, a powerful, direct light, makes your shadow sharp and well-defined on a clear day. Then, imagine a cloudy day, the light is spread out, and your shadow becomes a fuzzy, less intense blur. Leonardo understood this fundamental difference. His studies in this area were deeply intertwined with his artistic endeavors. He realized that by understanding the science of light and shadow, known as chiaroscuro, he could imbue his paintings with a profound sense of three-dimensionality. He saw how a shadow wasn't just the absence of light, but a crucial component in defining volume. A cheekbone, for instance, wouldn't appear flat if he understood where the shadow would naturally fall, creating the illusion of depth and roundness. He experimented with how different textures interacted with light, noting that a smooth surface might reflect light brightly, while a rougher surface would absorb it more, creating deeper, more subtle shadows. This careful observation allowed him to create figures that seemed to leap off the canvas, alive with form and presence. Leonardo's fascination wasn't confined to the visual realm, it touched upon the very physics of light. He pondered its speed and nature, even if his understanding was limited by the scientific knowledge of his time. He recognized that light traveled in straight lines, a concept that informed his understanding of perspective and how objects appear smaller the farther away they are. This seemingly simple observation has practical implications even today. When you look down a long, straight road, the edges of the road appear to converge in the distance, a direct consequence of light traveling in straight lines to your eyes. Leonardo, with his keen intellect, grasped this fundamental principle, applying it to create breathtakingly realistic depictions of space and distance in his art. He was, in essence, a pioneer in visualizing the invisible forces that shape our perception. Botany, the green world. Leonardo's fascination with plants was more than just a passing interest, it was a deep, abiding love for the intricate beauty and surprising complexity of the natural world. He didn't just see a flower, he saw a miracle of engineering, a testament to nature's boundless creativity. He'd spend hours sketching the delicate veins of a leaf, the precise arrangement of petals, the way a stem bent and swayed with an almost sentient grace. It was as if he believed that by capturing their form on paper, he could unlock some of nature's deepest secrets. He saw the world through the eyes of a scientist and an artist, meticulously observing how plants grew, how they interacted with their environment, and how they reproduced. He understood, long before many others, the vital role plants played in the ecosystem, how they breathed out the air we breathe in, and how their roots held the soil together, preventing it from washing away. Think of it like a giant, slow-motion ballet, with each plant performing its essential part in keeping the planet alive and kicking. His notebooks are filled with detailed drawings of everything from humble weeds to exotic flowers, each rendered with an astonishing accuracy. He was particularly intrigued by the spiraling patterns found in nature, the Fibonacci sequence that appears in the arrangement of seeds in a sunflower or the unfurling of a fern. It's like nature's own secret code, and Leonardo, with his sharp intellect, was determined to decipher it. He'd even experiment, trying to understand how water traveled up a plant's stem, a problem that baffled scientists for centuries. It's as if he was constantly asking, "How does this work?" and then meticulously documenting his findings. Beyond the scientific curiosity, there was a profound aesthetic appreciation. He recognized the inherent beauty in a perfectly formed seed pod, the vibrant hues of a blooming iris, or the sturdy resilience of an ancient olive tree. He understood that nature, in its infinite variety, was the ultimate artist, and his own artistic endeavors were, in many ways, an homage to that divine inspiration. He saw in the green world a source of endless wonder and a profound connection to the very essence of life. Geology, Earth's ancient stories. Leonardo da Vinci, ever the keen observer, found fascination not just in the flight of birds or the mechanics of the human body, but in the very ground beneath his feet. He looked at rocks and fossils and saw more than just inert matter, he saw a history book written in stone. Imagine finding a seashell high up on a mountain, miles from any sea. For Leonardo, this wasn't a puzzle to be ignored, but a clue. He realized such discoveries pointed to massive, slow changes in the Earth's surface over vast stretches of time. He understood that mountains could rise and seas could recede, a concept that was quite radical for his era. He meticulously studied rock formations, noticing how layers of sediment were deposited, compressed, and eventually turned into solid rock. This layered structure, much like the pages of a book, told a story of deposition, perhaps from ancient rivers or seas. He saw how fossils, the preserved remains of ancient life, were embedded within these layers. These weren't just strange shapes, They were the ghosts of creatures that lived and died long before humans even walked the earth. He recognized that these creatures were unlike anything alive today, hinting at a world that had changed dramatically. Leonardo's insights into geology were remarkably prescient. He essentially grasped the idea of deep time, the immense age of the Earth, and the processes of geological change. He understood that the Earth was not static but a dynamic, ever-evolving entity. His keen eyes saw the evidence of ancient oceans where dry land now lay, and the monumental forces that could lift landmasses to form towering peaks. It's as if he could read the Earth's autobiography, deciphering its chapters written in shale, sandstone, and marble, even without the fancy tools geologists use today. He was, in many ways, an early geologist, piecing together the planet's profound narrative from humble observations. Optics, seeing the world anew. Leonardo da Vinci was utterly fascinated by light. Not just the pretty way it made rainbows or illuminated a landscape, but how it actually worked. He spent countless hours observing how light bounced off surfaces, how shadows formed, and how our own eyes perceived images. Think of it like this: he wasn't content with just seeing a red apple, he wanted to understand why it appeared red to him. He dissected eyes, not out of morbid curiosity, but to map out the intricate pathways light traveled from the world to our brain, like a detective figuring out how a message got delivered. He even sketched out diagrams of the eye, showing how light rays converge on the retina, a bit like focusing a camera lens. This deep dive into how we see was groundbreaking for his time, moving beyond simple observation to a scientific inquiry into perception itself. He realized that what we see isn't always a direct copy of reality. Light bends, it scatters, and our brains interpret these signals. This understanding directly influenced his art. When painting, he meticulously considered how light would fall on a subject, creating a sense of three-dimensionality and volume that was revolutionary. Look at the Mona Lisa's smile. It seems to shift and change because Leonardo masterfully used subtle gradations of light and shadow, known as sfumato, to blur the edges and trick the eye just a little. He understood that a sharp, clear line wouldn't always represent how we actually perceive forms in the real world, especially in dim light. It's like trying to read a book in fading sunlight: the edges get soft, and you rely on the overall impression. Leonardo also experimented with lenses and mirrors, contemplating how they could alter our vision. He envisioned devices that could magnify distant objects or even project images. Imagine him tinkering in his workshop, trying to create a super spyglass centuries before it was invented, all because he was obsessed with the mechanics of sight. He understood that light could be manipulated, just like clay. This wasn't just about making pretty pictures, it was about unlocking the secrets of the universe by understanding the very tool we use to explore it, our vision. He saw light not as an ethereal force, but as a physical phenomenon, governed by rules that could be studied and understood, much like the flight of a bird or the flow of water. His investigations into optics laid some of the very early groundwork for scientific understanding of vision and light, influencing thinkers and artists for generations to come. The art of cartography. Leonardo da Vinci, a mind as vast as the seas he charted, found a peculiar fascination in the art of mapmaking. It wasn't just about drawing lines on parchment. For Leonardo, cartography was an extension of his insatiable curiosity about the world's physical form. He saw maps as more than just guides for travelers; they were intricate puzzles, offering a bird's-eye view of landscapes, rivers, and coastlines, allowing him to understand the very bones of the earth. He approached mapmaking with the same meticulous observation he applied to anatomy or flight, seeking to capture the essence of a place with both scientific accuracy and artistic flair. His approach to cartography was revolutionary. Instead of relying on existing, often inaccurate, sketches or vague descriptions, Leonardo insisted on first-hand observation. He would meticulously survey terrain, noting elevations, the flow of water, and the lay of the land. Think of it like trying to draw your neighborhood without ever leaving your house versus actually walking every street, peeking into yards, and feeling the slopes. That was Leonardo's method. He understood that a map's true value lay in its precision, a quality he tirelessly pursued. One of his most famous cartographic endeavors involved the Arno River Valley. He created incredibly detailed maps of this region, not just for practical purposes, but as studies in hydrology and landscape. He observed how water shaped the land, how tributaries fed into the main river, and how settlements clustered around these vital waterways. These weren't just pretty pictures, they were scientific documents, showcasing his understanding of natural forces. Imagine trying to plan a city or a canal system without knowing the exact path of the river. it would be like trying to bake a cake without a recipe. Leonardo's maps provided that essential, reliable recipe for understanding the land. His work in cartography, though less celebrated than his paintings, reveals another facet of his genius, the ability to see the world not just as it appeared, but as it truly functioned, a complex and interconnected system waiting to be understood and recorded. A return to Florence. Leonardo da Vinci's connection to Florence was deep, a tapestry woven with threads of early ambition and mature accomplishment. It was in this vibrant city, humming with artistic and intellectual fervor, that the seeds of his extraordinary genius were sown. He first arrived as a young apprentice, eager to learn, his eyes wide with the possibilities that Florence held. The workshops of master painters were akin to bustling laboratories of creativity, where pigments were ground, apprentices mixed paints, and the very air seemed alive with artistic dialogue. This was where Leonardo honed his craft, absorbing not just techniques but also a profound understanding of form, light, and human anatomy, all crucial for his later explorations. Florence wasn't just a place of learning, it was a crucible. The city's leading families, patrons of the arts, fostered an environment where talent could flourish, and competition, though fierce, spurred innovation. Leonardo, even in his youth, displayed a remarkable aptitude that set him apart. He absorbed everything, from the precise rendering of drapery to the subtle play of shadow on a human face, all while his mind was already buzzing with questions about the natural world. Think of it like a young chef not just learning recipes but also dissecting ingredients, understanding their properties, and dreaming up entirely new dishes. Later in life, Leonardo would return to Florence, not as a humble apprentice, but as a renowned master. This second chapter in his Florentine journey saw him undertaking commissions that would cement his legendary status. The energy of the city, its intellectual currents, and the sheer beauty of its surroundings continued to inspire him. He moved between projects with a restless curiosity, his mind a whirlwind of ideas. One moment he might be meticulously studying the flight of birds for a flying machine concept, the next he'd be grappling with the complex emotions needed to capture the enigmatic smile of the Mona Lisa. Florence, with its blend of ancient wisdom and burgeoning innovation, provided the perfect backdrop for such a multifaceted intellect. The Battle of Anghiari, a lost epic. Leonardo da Vinci's ambition to immortalize the ferocity of war led him to embark on a monumental fresco, the Battle of Anghiari. This wasn't just any battle painting, it was intended to be a visual explosion of chaos, a testament to human struggle and the raw power of conflict. He envisioned a scene so dynamic that viewers would feel the earth tremble and hear the clash of steel. Imagine the sheer audacity of tackling such a subject on the grand scale of the Palazzo Vecchio in Florence, a space meant for grand pronouncements. The process itself was a testament to Leonardo's experimental nature, which, to be frank, sometimes got the better of him. Instead of traditional fresco techniques, where paint is applied to wet plaster, Leonardo opted for an experimental method using oil-based paints and encaustic techniques, essentially hot wax painting. He hoped this would allow him unparalleled control over detail and blending, giving him that signature Leonardo touch. Picture him meticulously layering colors, trying to capture the sweat on a soldier's brow and the wild glint in a horse's eye. It was a gamble, a scientific inquiry into the very nature of pigment and surface. Unfortunately, this innovative approach proved to be his undoing. The pigments, particularly the oil-based ones, began to degrade and run down the wall. His masterpiece, a depiction of a pivotal moment in Florentine history, started to literally melt away before it was even finished. It was like trying to build a sandcastle on a beach during high tide, the elements were simply not cooperating. The vibrant energy he sought to capture was dissolving into a muddy, indistinct mess. Though the original fresco is lost to time, its spirit and composition survive through numerous copies and studies. Artists like Peter Paul Rubens created powerful interpretations based on surviving sketches, giving us a glimpse of what might have been. These copies are like echoes of a great symphony, hinting at the grandeur of the original performance. The Battle of Anghiari remains a poignant reminder of Leonardo's boundless genius, his relentless pursuit of innovation, and the sometimes unpredictable nature of artistic and scientific endeavors. It's a story of a lost epic, a grand vision that, despite its physical demise, continues to inspire awe and wonder. The Second Milanese Period. Leonardo's return to Milan marked a significant chapter, a period of intense productivity and diverse explorations. He was no longer just the promising artist of his youth, he was a seasoned master, and his reputation preceded him. The Duke Ludovico Sforza welcomed him back, recognizing the immense talent that Leonardo brought to his court. This wasn't just about painting anymore. Leonardo, with his insatiable curiosity, dove headfirst into a whirlwind of projects. He was the go-to guy for almost anything requiring a creative or engineering mind. Think of him as the ultimate Renaissance consultant, but with a much cooler wardrobe and a sketchbook full of flying machines. His artistic output continued, naturally. He was working on pieces that would solidify his legacy, but alongside these masterpieces, his engineering mind was buzzing. He was designing elaborate stage machinery for courtly festivals. Imagine elaborate contraptions that made figures appear and disappear like magic, or fantastic beasts that roared and spewed smoke. It was a bit like being the special effects supervisor for a medieval Broadway show. And then there were the military engineering projects. Leonardo, ever the pragmatist, was sketching designs for new kinds of cannons, fortifications, and even a submersible vehicle, though the latter might have been more of a thought experiment than a practical build at the time. He was essentially trying to invent the future of warfare, and perhaps, the future of underwater exploration. Beyond the grand projects, Leonardo's scientific investigations flourished during this time. His anatomical studies, often conducted in secret, were groundbreaking. He wasn't just looking at bones and muscles, he was trying to understand how the body worked, how it moved, how life itself functioned. He dissected human and animal bodies, meticulously drawing every detail. It was a messy, often gruesome business, but for Leonardo, it was like unlocking the most complex puzzle imaginable. He saw the human body as a marvel of engineering, a biological machine of exquisite design. His drawings from this period reveal a profound understanding of physiology, far ahead of his contemporaries. He was, in essence, trying to figure out the ultimate operating manual for life. His fascination with water also intensified. He studied its flow, its power, and its potential. He designed canals, drainage systems, and even explored the possibility of diverting rivers. It's easy to imagine him spending hours by a riverbank, not just admiring the scenery, but sketching the eddies and currents, trying to capture the very essence of fluid dynamics. This wasn't just academic curiosity, it was about understanding the fundamental forces of nature and how they could be harnessed for practical purposes, whether for irrigation, transportation, or even for creating spectacular water features for the Duke's gardens. He was a man who saw the world as a vast, interconnected system, and he was determined to understand every single part of it. The final years in France. The twilight of Leonardo da Vinci's life found him not amidst the familiar Florentine hills, but under the patronage of King Francis I of France. Invited to Amboise, he was granted the manor house of Clos-Luz, a charming estate where he could spend his remaining years in comfort and creative freedom. The king, a great admirer of Leonardo's genius, treated him less like a servant and more like a revered guest, even referring to him as my father. Imagine being treated like royalty simply for being good at what you do. Francis would often visit Leonardo, engaging him in conversations about art, science, and philosophy, and it's said he even carried Leonardo in his arms during one visit, though that might be a bit of artistic license. In France, Leonardo wasn't expected to churn out paintings at a frantic pace. His primary role was that of a visionary advisor, a sort of premier painter, engineer, and architect of the king. He tinkered with grand architectural projects, like the redesign of the royal chateau at Chambord, though many of his ambitious designs remained on paper, perhaps too grand even for the king's considerable resources. He also conceptualized elaborate court festivals and mechanical marvels, bringing a touch of Renaissance spectacle to French court life. It was a period of reflection and synthesis, where his vast knowledge could be applied without the immediate pressure of commissions. His most treasured possessions, the notebooks filled with his observations, sketches, and theories, traveled with him to France. These were his life's work, a sprawling testament to an insatiably curious mind. He continued to refine his anatomical studies, even in his advanced age, and pondered the mysteries of flight, water, and light. Though his physical strength waned, his intellectual fire burned brightly. He organized his voluminous writings, intending to compile them into treatises, though he never quite finished the task. It's a bit like having a massive to-do list that keeps growing, even when you're trying to wrap things up. The Mona Lisa, perhaps his most iconic work, also made its way to France with Leonardo. It's believed he worked on it intermittently for years, and it remained with him until his death. His final days were spent at Clos-Luz, surrounded by his beloved manuscripts and a few loyal students. He passed away in 1519, leaving behind a legacy that would continue to inspire for centuries. France, in its generosity, provided a peaceful and dignified end to a life dedicated to the relentless pursuit of knowledge and beauty. Francis I's esteemed guest. Francis I, the young and ambitious king of France, had a particular admiration for Leonardo da Vinci. He saw in the aging master not just an artist, but a repository of wisdom and an embodiment of the Renaissance spirit. It was a grand gesture, then, when Francis invited Leonardo to his court in France. This wasn't just a casual visit, it was an invitation to live and work, a testament to the king's profound respect. Francis even went so far as to offer Leonardo the title of premier painter and engineer and architect to the king. Imagine being offered your dream job, but with a crown involved. Leonardo, though advanced in years, accepted this generous offer. He brought with him not only his artistic genius but also his vast collection of notebooks, filled with sketches, inventions, and observations. He was given a beautiful manor house, Clos Luce, near the king's own residence at Amboise. This was Leonardo's home for his final years, a place where he could pursue his interests without the pressures of commissions or financial worries. He was treated more like a cherished friend and advisor than a hired hand. Francis I would often visit Leonardo at Clos Luce, eager to converse with him. Their discussion spanned a wide range of topics, from art and anatomy to engineering and philosophy. The king was fascinated by Leonardo's mind, his ability to see the world in such unique and insightful ways. It's said that Francis even enjoyed listening to Leonardo explain his ideas, even if some of them, like flying machines, were a bit ahead of their time. Think of it as a brilliant inventor sharing his wildest dreams with a supportive and enthralled audience. Leonardo's presence in France was a significant cultural event. He was a living legend, and his association with the French crown elevated the prestige of Francis I's court. Though he completed few new paintings in his final years, his influence was undeniable. He served as a source of inspiration and intellectual stimulation, a bridge between the artistic and scientific advancements of Italy and the burgeoning cultural scene in France. Francis I truly cherished his esteemed guest, recognizing the immense value of Leonardo's intellect and spirit. The legacy of the notebooks. Leonardo da Vinci's notebooks are a treasure trove, a peek into the mind of a true Renaissance man. These weren't just casual scribbles, they were his personal laboratories, filled with observations, sketches, and theories that spanned an astonishing range of subjects. Imagine a modern scientist meticulously documenting every experiment, every fleeting idea, and you're getting close. He'd sketch a bird's wing one moment, then ponder the mechanics of a water screw the next. It's like finding a secret diary of inventions and discoveries, written in his famous mirror script, perhaps to keep prying eyes from understanding his genius too quickly. It's a bit like writing your grocery list backward, just for fun. Within these pages, we find designs for flying machines that wouldn't be realized for centuries, detailed anatomical studies born from dissections that were quite controversial at the time, and insights into hydraulics, optics, and even geology. He noticed how water flowed, how muscles contracted, how light played on surfaces, and he captured it all with an artist's eye and a scientist's precision. His drawings of the human heart, for instance, are remarkably accurate, showing a deep understanding of its function long before the circulation of blood was fully grasped. It's as if he was trying to reverse engineer the universe, one sketch at a time. The true legacy of these notebooks lies not just in the individual discoveries, but in the sheer breadth of his curiosity and his method of inquiry. He didn't just accept what he was told, he looked, he questioned, and he drew. He saw connections between seemingly unrelated things, a testament to his holistic approach to knowledge. Even today, these notebooks inspire awe and offer valuable lessons in observation and critical thinking. They remind us that the most profound insights often come from paying close attention to the world around us, and perhaps, from jotting down those thoughts, even if it's in a language only you can read. Translating thought to paper. Leonardo da Vinci possessed an almost uncanny ability to bridge the gap between the swirling, abstract realms of his mind and the tangible reality of ink on parchment. His notebooks are a testament to this, not merely collections of drawings, but rather a vibrant, living dialogue between observation and imagination. He didn't just sketch what he saw, he dissected it, reassembled it, and explored its underlying principles, all before committing it to paper. Consider his anatomical studies. Rather than simply outlining muscles and bones, he would meticulously render the intricate interplay of tendons, the flow of blood, and the mechanics of movement. It was as if he were trying to unlock the very secrets of life itself, translating the complex biological machinery into a visual language that anyone, with a bit of patience, could begin to understand. This process of translation wasn't limited to the biological. His engineering designs, too, reveal this profound ability to move from a conceptual spark to a detailed blueprint. The flying machines, for instance, weren't just fanciful doodles of wings. They were the product of careful study of bird flight, of wind currents, and of the principles of leverage and aerodynamics, even if those principles were not yet formally defined. He'd sketch a wing, then annotate it with observations about its shape and how it interacted with the air, perhaps even wondering aloud on the page about the best materials to mimic feathers. This constant questioning, this back and forth between the idea and its physical representation, is what makes his notebooks so compelling. It's like watching a brilliant mind at work, wrestling with problems and finding elegant solutions, all laid bare for us to see. His approach to art also benefited from this meticulous translation of thought. When he painted, he wasn't just applying color to canvas. He was translating his understanding of light, shadow, and form into brushstrokes. The subtle gradations of tone in his portraits, the way fabric drapes realistically, the very lifelike quality of his subjects, these all stem from a deep, internalized understanding of how the world works, an understanding he first grappled with and refined on paper. He might spend pages exploring the musculature of a hand before he ever put brush to the Mona Lisa's enigmatic fingers. It's this dedication to understanding the foundational elements, to translating abstract knowledge into concrete visual representation, that sets his work apart and continues to inspire centuries later. It's a reminder that true innovation often begins with a deep dive into the details, a willingness to wrestle with an idea until it can be clearly articulated, whether that articulation is a scientific diagram, an engineering marvel, or a timeless work of art. The interconnectedness of all things. Leonardo da Vinci saw the world as a vast, intricate tapestry, where every thread, no matter how small, was connected to every other. He didn't just paint a bird, he studied its wings, how they caught the air, and how that air, in turn, was influenced by the wind patterns. This wasn't just about art, it was about understanding the fundamental forces at play. Think of it like baking a cake. You can't just throw flour and sugar together and expect a masterpiece. You need to understand how the eggs bind, how the leavening agent makes it rise, how the heat transforms the batter. Each ingredient, each step, is crucial and affects the final outcome. Leonardo approached nature with this same holistic perspective. His notebooks are a testament to this worldview. He'd sketch a swirling eddy of water and then, on the next page, draw the curls of human hair or the spiral of a seashell. He wasn't merely observing similarities, he was trying to uncover the underlying principles, the universal laws that govern these seemingly disparate phenomena. It's like noticing how the same curve appears in a flowing river, a blooming flower, and the shape of a cat's yawn. He believed that by understanding one part of the system, you could gain insight into the whole. This interconnectedness extended to his anatomical studies. He didn't just see muscles and bones, he saw how they worked in concert, how a slight imbalance in one area could affect movement elsewhere, much like a loose screw in a bicycle can throw off the entire ride. This profound understanding of interconnectedness fueled his insatiable curiosity. He recognized that dissecting a human body wasn't just about understanding anatomy for surgery, it was about understanding the engineering marvel of life itself, which could then inform his designs for flying machines or hydraulic systems. He saw the same principles of leverage in a human arm as he did in a crane, the same fluid dynamics in blood flow as in a river. It was this constant cross-pollination of ideas, this refusal to see disciplines as separate entities, that made him so revolutionary. He was like a master chef who not only understands how to cook each dish perfectly but also how to create a menu where every course complements the next, creating a truly satisfying dining experience for the senses. Art and science, a symbiotic dance. Leonardo da Vinci saw no division between art and science. For him, they were two sides of the same coin, inextricably linked. His keen eye for observation, honed by artistic practice, fueled his scientific curiosity. He didn't just paint a bird, he dissected it, studied its musculature, understood the mechanics of its flight. This deep understanding allowed him to depict birds with an unprecedented lifelike quality, their imagined movements almost palpable on the canvas. It was like trying to draw a car without ever looking under the hood. You might get the shape right, but the essence, the how it works, would be missing. His anatomical studies, for instance, weren't just for medical texts. They informed the subtle nuances of human expression in his portraits. The way a muscle twitches when someone smiles, the delicate curve of a lip, the shadow cast by a cheekbone, these were all matters of scientific inquiry for Leonardo. He meticulously sketched muscles, tendons, and bones, not just to understand the body's structure, but to capture its most fleeting emotions with astonishing realism. He treated the human form as a magnificent machine, a marvel of engineering that deserved rigorous study. This interplay extended to his engineering pursuits. His designs for flying machines, for example, were not mere flights of fancy. They were born from countless hours observing birds in flight, sketching their wing structures, and calculating the forces involved. He was essentially reverse engineering nature, trying to understand its secrets to replicate them. Think of it like a chef studying the perfect texture of a soufflé. They don't just guess, they understand the chemistry of eggs and heat. Leonardo applied this same methodical, observational approach to everything he encountered, from the flow of water to the growth of plants. Ultimately, Leonardo's genius lay in his ability to fuse these seemingly disparate fields. He believed that true understanding came from experiencing and observing the world in its entirety. His notebooks are a testament to this philosophy, filled with sketches of swirling water alongside studies of human anatomy, designs for war machines next to detailed botanical drawings. He saw the universe as a grand, interconnected system, and his art and science were simply different languages he used to explore its wonders. It was a beautiful, symbiotic dance, where each step informed the next, leading to a breathtakingly comprehensive view of reality. The Renaissance man ideal. The ideal of the Renaissance man, a person who excelled in many fields, found its ultimate embodiment in Leonardo da Vinci. He wasn't just a painter, though his Mona Lisa and The Last Supper are legendary. He was a true polymath, a jack of all trades and, remarkably, a master of many. Think of someone today who is a brilliant scientist, a gifted musician, and a published author. That's the kind of breadth we're talking about, but amplified. Leonardo's curiosity knew no bounds. He meticulously studied human anatomy, not just for his art, but to understand the mechanics of the body as if it were a complex machine. His notebooks are filled with detailed drawings of muscles, bones, and organs, observations that were centuries ahead of their time. He even dissected bodies, a rather messy and controversial business back then, to get a first-hand look at how everything worked. It's like wanting to fix your car and deciding to take the whole engine apart just to see the nuts and bolts. This insatiable thirst for knowledge extended to the natural world. He observed the flight of birds with an engineer's eye, sketching designs for flying machines that, while not functional in his era, showed an incredible understanding of aerodynamics. He pondered hydraulics, botany, geology, you name it. Leonardo probably sketched it, wrote about it, or experimented with it. His mind was a bustling workshop of ideas, constantly connecting seemingly unrelated subjects. This holistic approach meant that his art often benefited from his scientific pursuits. His understanding of light and shadow, for instance, allowed him to create incredibly lifelike portraits. His knowledge of botany informed his depiction of landscapes. He didn't see art and science as separate entities but as two sides of the same coin, both seeking to understand and represent the beauty and complexity of the world. This was the essence of the Renaissance man, a pursuit of excellence and understanding across the entire spectrum of human endeavor. Da Vinci's influence on future generations. Leonardo da Vinci's insatiable curiosity and his way of observing the world left an indelible mark, a legacy that continues to inspire creators and thinkers centuries later. He didn't just paint masterpieces, he dissected the very fabric of existence, from the flight of birds to the flow of water, and these investigations profoundly shaped how future generations understood art, science, and engineering. His notebooks, filled with sketches and observations, were like a treasure map for the curious mind, revealing a thought process that connected seemingly disparate fields. Imagine a world before flight. Leonardo, meticulously studying bird wings, envisioned machines that could lift humans into the sky. While his flying contraptions didn't take off in his lifetime, his detailed designs and understanding of aerodynamics laid foundational concepts that would eventually lead to the airplanes we travel in today. It's like he planted seeds of ideas that only bloomed much, much later. This cross-pollination of disciplines is perhaps his most enduring gift. He saw no artificial boundaries between art and science. His anatomical studies, driven by a desire to depict the human form with unparalleled accuracy in his paintings, also advanced medical understanding. He drew muscles and bones with the precision of a surgeon, revealing the inner workings of the body in a way that was groundbreaking. This approach, where artistic skill informs scientific inquiry and vice versa, became a blueprint for many who followed. Think of modern designers who use sophisticated software to visualize their creations, or architects who blend aesthetic beauty with structural integrity. They are, in a way, channeling Leonardo's holistic vision. His work encouraged a holistic approach to problem solving, suggesting that the most brilliant innovations often arise from looking at things from multiple perspectives, much like how a chef might experiment with unexpected ingredient combinations. Furthermore, Leonardo's inventive spirit, even in areas where practical application was distant, fostered a culture of what if. His designs for tanks, diving suits, and even automated machines, though often theoretical, demonstrated a remarkable foresight. These weren't just doodles, they were serious explorations of mechanical principles. This forward thinking, this willingness to dream big and sketch out possibilities far beyond the technology of his era, empowered subsequent inventors to push boundaries. It's the intellectual equivalent of a child asking why endlessly, but with the added layer of a brilliant mind trying to engineer the answers. His legacy reminds us that innovation isn't always about immediate success, it's about the persistent pursuit of knowledge and the courage to imagine what could be, even if it seems impossible at first glance. He proved that a curious mind, armed with keen observation, could lay the groundwork for revolutions yet to come. The enduring fascination. Leonardo da Vinci continues to captivate us centuries after his time. It's not just his famous paintings, though the Mona Lisa's enigmatic smile and the Last Supper's dramatic tension are certainly powerful draws. There's a deeper magic, a sense that he was a man who saw the world with an intensity and curiosity few have ever matched. Think about it, he wasn't content with just painting. He was sketching flying machines when airplanes were still a distant dream, dissecting bodies to understand how muscles worked, a bit gruesome, perhaps, but incredibly insightful, and observing the flow of water as if it held the secrets of the universe. This polymathic drive, this refusal to be confined to a single discipline, is a huge part of his enduring appeal. His notebooks are a testament to this boundless intellect. Filled with meticulous drawings, observations, and even playful doodles, they offer a window into a mind constantly at work, questioning, experimenting, and creating. We see his early designs for a helicopter-like device, remarkably similar in principle to modern rotorcraft, or his detailed anatomical studies that were far ahead of their time. It's like flipping through the ultimate creative brainstorm, a chaotic yet brilliant collection of ideas that spanned art, science, engineering, and even music. Imagine having a peek at your favorite artist's rough drafts, but on a scale that encompasses the very fabric of human knowledge. This fascination isn't just academic, it touches our everyday lives. His studies on perspective, for instance, revolutionized how artists depicted three-dimensional space on a two-dimensional surface, a technique we still appreciate in films and video games today. His understanding of light and shadow, chiaroscuro, is something you can see in professional photography and even in the way a well-lit stage performance draws your eye. Even his inventions, while many weren't built in his lifetime, laid the groundwork for technologies we now take for granted. He was, in a way, a visionary who gifted us not just beautiful art, but also a framework for understanding and interacting with the world around us, a legacy that continues to inspire and intrigue. Debunking myths and misconceptions. Leonardo da Vinci wasn't just a painter, he was a man of insatiable curiosity. Many imagine him as a solitary genius, locked away in his studio, brush in hand, conjuring masterpieces from thin air. While he certainly spent time painting, and often in solitude, his life was far more dynamic and multifaceted. He was a prolific inventor, a keen anatomist, a civil and military engineer, and a keen observer of the natural world. Think of him less as a hermit and more as a Renaissance man who couldn't help but dabble in everything. His notebooks, filled with sketches of flying machines and intricate anatomical studies, reveal a mind constantly at work, exploring, questioning, and documenting. It wasn't just about art, it was about understanding how the world functioned, from the flight of a bird to the mechanics of the human body. Another common misconception is that Leonardo completed a vast number of paintings. In reality, his artistic output was relatively small, perhaps fewer than 20 surviving paintings. This wasn't due to laziness, but rather his perfectionism and his tendency to get sidetracked by his myriad other interests. He would often start a commission and then leave it unfinished, or spend years refining a single piece. The Mona Lisa, for instance, was a work he kept with him for years, constantly tweaking and perfecting. It's a bit like a baker who loves to experiment with new recipes. Sometimes a few magnificent cakes emerge, but the real joy is in the process of creation and learning. Furthermore, the image of Leonardo as solely a master artist overlooks his significant contributions to science and engineering. His anatomical drawings, based on dissections he performed himself, a controversial practice at the time, were remarkably accurate and advanced the understanding of human physiology for centuries. His designs for machines, though often not built in his lifetime, showed an incredible grasp of mechanical principles. He envisioned helicopters, tanks, and even diving suits. These weren't just doodles, they were often grounded in careful observation and a deep understanding of physics and engineering, even if the technology to realize them didn't yet exist. He was, in essence, a scientist and an engineer who also happened to be an extraordinary artist. Finally, the idea that Leonardo was a universally recognized genius during his own lifetime, lauded by all, is also a bit of a simplification. While he was certainly respected and sought after by patrons, his unconventional methods and wide-ranging interests sometimes led to frustration. His patrons often complained about his slow progress or his tendency to take on too many projects at once. He wasn't always the picture of a compliant artist fulfilling requests precisely as imagined. He was a man driven by his own internal compass, following threads of inquiry wherever they led, which sometimes meant art took a backseat to his scientific or engineering pursuits. The universal genius. Leonardo da Vinci was more than just a painter, he was a true Renaissance man, a jack of all trades, and master of many. Think of him as the ultimate Renaissance multitasker. He didn't just dabble in art, his curiosity stretched across an astonishing array of fields. He was an inventor, a scientist, an engineer, an architect, a musician, a writer, and a botanist, to name just a few. It's as if he had a superpowered brain that could absorb and understand almost anything. His notebooks are a testament to this incredible breadth of knowledge. They are filled with detailed anatomical drawings, which were groundbreaking for their time, showing a deep understanding of the human body that went far beyond what was commonly known. He sketched flying machines, centuries before the Wright brothers took to the skies. He designed bridges, fortifications, and even elaborate water systems. It's like he was constantly thinking, how can first make this better? What if we tried this? His mind was always buzzing with new ideas and practical solutions to problems, big and small. One of the most fascinating aspects of Leonardo's genius was his ability to connect seemingly unrelated subjects. He saw patterns and principles that others missed. For instance, his study of bird flight directly informed his designs for flying machines. His understanding of water currents influenced his architectural projects. He didn't compartmentalize his learning, it was all part of one grand, interconnected system of knowledge. He was a relentless observer, always asking why and how about the world around him, from the curl of a leaf to the movement of a muscle. This insatiable curiosity meant he was never satisfied with just knowing something, he had to understand it thoroughly, often through hands-on experimentation. He dissected bodies, which was quite the controversial practice back then, so imagine the whispers, to learn how they worked. He observed nature with the meticulousness of a detective, documenting every detail. It's this deep, investigative spirit, combined with his artistic talent, that made him such a unique and enduring figure. He was, in essence, a walking, talking encyclopedia of human knowledge and innovation. A mind unbound by discipline. Leonardo da Vinci possessed a mind that refused to be neatly categorized. He wasn't just a painter, though his Mona Lisa and The Last Supper are legendary. His curiosity spilled over into every conceivable field, much like a child exploring a new toy box with boundless enthusiasm. He'd be sketching anatomical studies of the human body one moment, meticulously dissecting muscles and bones to understand how we move, and the next, he'd be designing flying machines, dreaming of soaring through the skies like a bird. It's as if he saw the world as one giant, interconnected puzzle, and he wanted to understand every single piece, from the smallest insect wing to the grandest celestial movement. This refusal to stick to one lane meant his notebooks were a chaotic, yet brilliant, testament to his wide-ranging interests. You might find a detailed study of water flow next to a sketch for a new type of armor, or a botanical illustration of a rare plant followed by notes on optics and light. He didn't see these as separate subjects. For him, the principles governing a swirling eddy of water might inform the way he painted drapery, or the mechanics of a bird's wing could inspire a new invention. It was a holistic approach, a constant cross-pollination of ideas that made his work so unique. Think of it like a chef who doesn't just bake bread but also understands the soil the wheat grew in, the weather patterns that affected the harvest, and the chemistry of yeast, all contributing to the final loaf. His contemporaries often found this multifaceted genius a bit perplexing. While others were honing their skills in a single craft, Leonardo was hopping from engineering to anatomy, from sculpture to music, and back to painting. This wasn't a lack of focus, but rather an insatiable hunger for knowledge that transcended traditional boundaries. He saw no reason why the study of hydraulics shouldn't inform his understanding of blood circulation, or why the principles of perspective in art couldn't be applied to the design of fortifications. His mind was a vibrant ecosystem, where ideas from one field could readily fertilize discoveries in another, leading to innovations that were centuries ahead of their time. Ultimately, Leonardo's unbound discipline allowed him to see connections others missed. He approached problems with a fresh perspective, unburdened by the dogma of any single discipline. This allowed him to invent, to observe, and to create in ways that remain astonishing. His legacy isn't just in the masterpieces he left behind, but in the very spirit of inquiry that drove him to explore the universe with an open, endlessly curious mind. He was a Renaissance man, yes, but more than that, he was a human being who embraced the glorious complexity of existence without ever feeling the need to choose just one path. The quest for knowledge. Leonardo da Vinci's life was a relentless pursuit of understanding. He didn't just accept what others told him, he had to see it, touch it, and dissect it for himself. This insatiable curiosity drove him to explore every corner of the natural world. Think of it like a child constantly asking, why? But Leonardo never stopped asking. He'd spend hours observing a bird in flight, not just admiring its grace, but trying to figure out the physics behind its wings, how air currents supported its weight, and the intricate mechanics of its bones and feathers. He wanted to know how everything worked, from the smallest insect to the grandest celestial bodies. His notebooks are a testament to this quest. They are filled with sketches of everything imaginable: water currents, plant structures, human anatomy, and even fantastical flying machines. He wasn't just doodling, he was meticulously recording his observations and experiments. He'd carefully draw the layers of a muscle, the veins of a leaf, or the way water swirled down a drain. This wasn't for show, it was his way of processing information, of making sense of the world around him. It's like taking a million photos and then trying to organize them into a coherent story. This deep dive into knowledge extended to the human body. In an era when such studies were frowned upon, Leonardo, driven by his desire to paint realistic figures, secretly obtained bodies to dissect. He wanted to understand the inner workings, the bones, muscles, and organs that gave humans their form and movement. He meticulously sketched the skeleton, the way tendons pulled on bones, and how blood flowed through the heart. It was a difficult and often gruesome task, but for Leonardo, it was essential to truly capture life on canvas. He believed that to paint a person, you had to understand the machine that allowed them to live and breathe. His quest wasn't confined to the visible. Leonardo was fascinated by light and shadow, by the very essence of how we perceive the world. He studied optics, trying to understand how light rays entered the eye and how our brains interpreted them. This understanding directly informed his painting techniques, allowing him to create incredibly lifelike figures with a profound sense of depth and volume. He was essentially trying to reverse engineer reality, to break it down into its fundamental components so he could then recreate it, or at least represent it, with unparalleled accuracy. The perpetual student. Leonardo da Vinci never truly stopped learning. Think of him as that friend who's always tinkering, always asking why, and then diving headfirst into finding the answer. He wasn't content with just knowing something, he needed to understand how it worked, from the tiniest insect wing to the grandest celestial body. This insatiable curiosity meant he was constantly observing the world around him, sketching anything that caught his eye. Did you know he filled notebooks with drawings of everything from plants and animals to human anatomy and mechanical devices? He'd dissect bodies, a bit gruesome, perhaps, but incredibly informative, to grasp the intricacies of muscles and bones, much like a modern-day doctor studying anatomy charts, only he was doing it with quill and ink. His approach to learning was hands-on, a stark contrast to the often purely theoretical education of his time. He believed true knowledge came from experience, from getting your hands dirty, metaphorically speaking. If he wanted to understand flight, he didn't just read about birds, he watched them, he drew their wings, and he even designed flying machines, some of which were remarkably ahead of their time. It's like trying to learn to bake, you can read all the recipes you want, but you won't truly master it until you've mixed the dough, felt its texture, and maybe even burned a few cookies along the way. That was Leonardo's method, a continuous cycle of observation, experimentation, and documentation. This perpetual student mindset meant he often left projects unfinished, not out of laziness, but because a new question had sparked his interest, leading him down another fascinating rabbit hole of inquiry. He'd start painting a masterpiece, then get distracted by the way light hit a nearby object, and spend hours sketching and analyzing it. It's a bit like a chef who, while preparing a complex dish, suddenly gets inspired by a new spice and spends the rest of the afternoon experimenting with it. For Leonardo, every observation was a potential lesson, every phenomenon a puzzle to be solved, and the world itself was his ultimate classroom. He simply couldn't resist the urge to explore every corner of it. The Renaissance personified. Leonardo da Vinci wasn't just a painter, he was the ultimate Renaissance man, a title that means he was good at, well, pretty much everything. Think of him as the original multitasker, but instead of juggling emails and coffee, he was sketching flying machines and dissecting bodies. He embodied the era's spirit of curiosity, believing that understanding the world meant exploring it from every angle. This wasn't just about art, it was about knowing how things worked, from the way a bird's wing catches the air to the intricate muscles that make a smile possible. He saw connections everywhere, a grand tapestry woven from art, science, and nature. His notebooks are a testament to this insatiable drive. They're filled with everything from anatomical drawings that still impress medical students today to designs for gadgets that wouldn't look out of place in a modern workshop. He sketched bridges, war machines, and even a diving suit, all long before they were practical realities. It's like he had a crystal ball for invention, but instead of magic, he used keen observation and a brilliant mind. He approached problems with a blend of artistic vision and scientific rigor, a combination that allowed him to see solutions others missed. Consider his study of flight. While others might have just watched birds and dreamed, Leonardo meticulously observed their wing structures, their movements, and the way they interacted with the wind. He then translated these observations into detailed drawings of flying contraptions, imagining human-powered flight centuries before it became a reality. It wasn't just about building something, it was about understanding the underlying principles. This same detailed approach applied to his art. He didn't just paint a face, he understood the bones beneath, the muscles that shaped the expression, and the play of light that brought it to life. This boundless curiosity meant he was rarely content with just one area of expertise. If he was painting a portrait, he'd be thinking about the chemistry of the pigments. If he was designing a canal, he'd be pondering fluid dynamics. He saw no artificial boundaries between disciplines, believing that knowledge was a unified whole. This holistic view allowed him to innovate across fields, pushing the boundaries of what was thought possible. He was a living, breathing embodiment of the Renaissance ideal, to learn, to create, and to understand the universe in all its magnificent complexity. And so we've journeyed through the mind of a true Renaissance man, a master of both art and invention. From the enigmatic smile of the Mona Lisa to the ingenious designs of flying machines, Leonardo da Vinci's legacy continues to inspire us centuries later. He reminds us that curiosity is a powerful tool, and that the world is full of wonders waiting to be explored, if only we take the time to look. What a guy, right? Always tinkering, always dreaming. Next time, we'll dive into another extraordinary mind that shaped our world, exploring the groundbreaking discoveries of Marie Curie and her incredible contributions to science. Until then, keep exploring, keep creating, and never stop asking what if.